So today I quit my job. As in today, August 16, 2025, I officially am unemployed. I do not have a job. And I guess I just want to talk a little about why I quit and just sort of like the headspace and the sequence of events that led up to me making that decision. No, I have been working since I've been working since very young. 10 years old, I grew up in a single parent home, and so we had to kind of like find creative ways to earn money so that we could go to school, right? Because it was just my mom, and there were five of us in my household, and there was no dad. So we had to get creative, find creative ways to earn money in addition to what my mom was bringing in, because she was self-employed. So there was not much that was going on there, right? So I started officially working for somebody else when I was 17 years old. I left high school at 16, graduated early, and I started working at a gas station when I was 17. I saved up that money, and the government had a training program. We had to go on campus, right? But you needed to buy your uniform and other essentials to be on the campus. So I needed that money to buy the uniform and buy the stuff that I needed to go on campus. So I went there, did hospitality and accounting, right? It was 9 months, started working in the hotel sector. Now, when you are coming up from a humble beginning, you don't really understand the world of work. You don't really understand salary and salary range and pay scales. I didn't know anything about those things. I just wanted a job. I just wanted to make some money. And then when you're not used to having money, it's like some money is better than no money. And so when I just started working, I was getting the bare minimum. I didn't know that at the time. It's just now in retrospect, looking back, you understand that, wait a minute, they were not paying you fairly. And by not paying you fairly, I mean severely underpaid. And this is what people don't understand in the world of work. It's a lot of exploitation. So they sell us this dream of get educated, get a job, and go, and pull yourself up by the bootstrap in a sense. But wealth is typically built in the realm of capitalism on the exploitation of other people. That's how most people become rich. They exploit others. So, I'm in the hotel. I did that for 17 years. And during all of that time, I was being underpaid. Didn't know it at the time, but because, when you're coming from humble beginning and you're the first one to go to college, you're the first one to do pretty much everything in your family, you see yourself as successful and you're not so much focused on how you're being treated, because now you're essentially sort of providing for your family, your not your immediate family, not your own children, but your mom and that sort of thing. So it's like there is this weight of obligation that is on you to not screw up. And so you're more concerned with keeping the job than the conditions of employment, right? So severely underpaid. And how I found out after there's this hotel that I worked for at least 12 years. Almost 12 years. It was like 11 years and some months when they did not renew my contract, because I started in 2015, left in December of 2011, and during the course of that time, what they did was they would give us short-term contracts. So you started out with a 3 months contract, right? And they give you 6 months, then they give you 11 months, and then for the successive years, you'll get 11 months contract, it ends, you go off for 3 weeks vacation, you get 11 months contract, when you come back, you go off for 3 weeks vacation, you get 11 months. Then COVID hit, but shortly before COVID, I knew someone who was doing the same job that I was doing. I was a night auditor, and when I heard what they were getting paid, it was twice as much as I was getting. And I have a degree, I have a diploma, I have a certificate. So I have a degree in hospitality management, I have a diploma in accounting and business, and I have a certificate in supervisory management. So I'm like, but this person just left high school, has a high school diploma, why are they making twice as much as I'm making? So then I started asking around at other hotels, people were doing the same job. I was a night auditor at the time. And I realized that they were getting twice as much as I was getting. And I'm like, but this doesn't make any sense. And so I, did some more research. I compiled a letter, and I sent it off to HR to say, hey, this is what my research has uncovered, and I need a raise, and this is how much I need. Right? And so that's how I got a raise. I got a 45% increase. Right? Then 1 year later, COVID came, and a year after COVID, my contract was not renewed. So now I'm out in the thing. I got another job, right? This time as a payroll analyst. Now, I don't know anything of I'm Jamaican, and in Jamaica we don't have any kind of public information when it comes to pay scales. You can't do any kind of market research. If you know someone who works, then of course you can ask them how much they're being paid, and that's how you would get your information. But the caveat is that what they're being paid is not representative of what the role pays. Because if they're being underpaid, they would know and you wouldn't know. So you find yourself in a situation where you're getting information that may not be very accurate, right? So I didn't know anyone in that sector because I was transitioning from the hotel to the business processing sector, and I knew nobody. And there was just no information with respect to what the salary should be. So I didn't know, right? So going into the interview, I don't know what to ask for. And the mistake that we make is we think that these people are acting in good faith. They're not. So of course, when I got to the interview, good resume, except it was in a different sector, but obviously they were impressed. And I got the job. I knew I was going to get the job anyway, right? And the salary was 8% more than what I was getting at my previous job. No, I didn't factor in the benefits that I was getting but you can't. One of the things that they do, which is now I know, is if you're applying for a job and they normally they give you, it's so weird because you'll have to apply online. So let's say you send a letter, a resume and a cover letter to an establishment, right? More often than not, they'll want you to go online on their platform to apply, which is kind of weird because you have my cover letter, you have my resume. Why are you asking me to go online and fill out an application? Again, that doesn't make any sense. But they'll ask you to go online and fill out an application. The online application will ask you for what your current salary is or your previous salary was. Under no circumstances should you ever give them that information, because they use that information. They come up with a bunch of stuff as to why they need the information, but it's you don't need the information. You are the limiting factor in respect of how much you can pay for the role, whatever is in your budget. So I can want $100 million. I have no upper limit in terms of how much I want for pay. You are the one who is limited. So what I was getting before is of no relevance to you. The fact that I'm applying for the job simply means that I am interested in the role that you're offering. I have already expressed my interest, right? So it doesn't matter what I was getting before. Why do you need that information? The reason why they need that information is so that they can underpay, lowball you, right? That's what they do. They want to lowball you. So they want to know what you were getting before, so they can offer a little bit more, maybe 5%, 8%, at most 10% more than what you were getting. If you find a very good person, they will let's say you were making $50,000, this is US per year, and the role starts at $100,000. they're like, okay, based on your qualification and experience, we'll pay you 115,000, right? But if the person is unscrupulous, you're getting $50,000. The role starts at 100,000 up to 150,000. They probably give you $70,000. So you're not even getting anywhere within the pay scale of the role simply because you gave them the information about what you were getting before. Just as an example. So, of course, there was no discussion of salary because it's one of the weird things in Jamaica. Is like to ask about salary is taboo. It's almost like if you ask, you're not going to get the job. So all the jobs that I've held up to the one that I just quit, I was never told what the salary was during the interview process. There was no conversation about salary. It's when you started working and they give you the contract, you see what your salary is. And you don't know, you have to work out what the final amount. It's one of the weirdest things. You have to work out what the final, the way they word the thing, you have to work out how much you're going to get annually. It's not there anywhere in the contract. It's like it's one of the weirdest things ever. So what I didn't know was that they broke the salary in two, right? They have the base pay and then they have an incentive. But the way they communicate, they'll add the percent, the bonus to the base pay and tell you this is what the salary is, right? But then the bonus is not guaranteed. They can take portions of it for whatever reason they decide to come up with to take, and you get the remainder, or they can take all of it and you just get your base pay. So I'm like, but whatever my base pay is, that is what I have to budget around, because if you can deduct from the bonus or not give me the bonus, then the bonus is not reliable. And I have fixed expenses that are coming in every month, so I have to basically budget around the base pay because that's what I am guaranteed at the end of the pay period. So what I didn't know, and no one told me, it was, you're going in and you're doing your training, and then you start to assimilate the culture, you start to make friends and talk to people. That's when I found out that they don't give raises. And I'm like, but I've never heard of you working for a company and you don't get a yearly raise. I've never heard of that. It was like, it was a shocker to me because people were like, no. And what I mean by that is, if you're working for the company for 10 years and you never got a promotion, you never moved to a different role, and let's say you started out at $1. For each of those 10 years, your annual salary will be $1. And I'm like, what? Are you crazy? And that was the situation. So I'm working. There were little kinks about the workplace that I really didn't like. But it's kind of like, that's, how workplaces are. We're still going through COVID because I started working there in 2023, right? And we got to work from home permanently because of the whole COVID thing. So that kind of eased, because it was an office situation, and then we had these little cubicles. I've never worked at a cubicle before, so it was a little bit claustrophobic for me. And there was like so many people in the space, and I've never worked with so many people in one space before. So for me, it was an adjustment. So then when we transitioned to working from home permanently, which you can only do after working for the company for 1 full year, it was sort of a relief for me because I didn't really like the office setting. Then a couple of things started happening. So my rent, the first year I started working, landlord increased my rent by 20%. 20%. So, I went to look up, like, how much can they, and it's like, they can't increase it by more than 10%, but then they were like, I don't care, it's 20%. And I'm like, okay, because I was, I've been here at the time I was here for, I think, 5 years, and there was no increase. So I'm like, okay, and it's a good neighborhood, and it's a good apartment, and I know like what I'm getting it for. If I am supposed to go someplace else, I'd probably have to pay double. So I'm like, you know what? Never, it's okay, right? So 20% increase. Then the energy bill went up by I think 14%. The internet bill, because then they started charging in the US currency, and based on the exchange rate, then your consumption won't really, it's kind of like, okay, even if you're consuming relatively the same amount of energy per month, your bill is still going to fluctuate because of the exchange rate. So there was this 14% increase in the electricity bill, and by virtue of, I guess, the gas, and because they have a component that they call fluid and IPP charge that has nothing to do with your consumption, but it has to do with like leakage and electricity theft and other, I guess, uncontrollable incidental costs that are not incurred as a result of operations, but as a result of job. It's kind of like, when the electricity traveling through the wire, there is leakage, and the company's like, we're not paying for that. So they pass that cost onto us. There's some people who steal electricity, so the company's like, we're not gonna foot that bill, so they pass it on to us, the customer. So that component has nothing to do with your usage, but these variable incidental costs that are packed in, right? So your bill is going to fluctuate, and not necessarily because of what you actually use, but because of these factors that are outside of your control, right? So it went up by 14%. The internet bill, they started charging it in US dollars too. That went up by 5%. So you can see my dilemma. I had this inflation that has reduced my purchasing power. Plus you have the food, like food cost went up by 30%. Yes, food cost went up by 30%. So I'm in this situation where 30%, I think when I worked it was like 34% of my purchasing power is gone. And so naturally, I asked for a raise. So in January of this year, I asked for a raise. So I did some market research and found out, pay scale information and such, and I realized that we were not getting anywhere close to what the role is valued at. I found out that even the government was paying almost 50% more than what we were being paid, and that doesn't really happen, because generally when you work for the government, you're paid less, I guess, because of the benefits, than someone who is in the private sector. So I'm like, how is it that the government is paying more money than you guys? That does not make any sense. You understand? So of course I did my research, compiled my request for a raise, and I sent it off to the manager, right? And she read it, said, okay, fine, no problem. I'll need to speak with your local HR, because the company, it's one of those outsourcing operations. So you have a US-based company, and they outsource the work to Jamaica, and we are doing the actual work for another US company. It's like you have the company that is outsourcing their payroll operations to a service business in the US. And then that service business outsourced that same payroll function to another country, which is Jamaica. So it's kind of like you have this there are like three tiers that you have to deal with. It's very hot. I'm sweating. Oh my God. It's really hot here. Anyways, so send the thing to her. She said she was going to circle back to me. I'm like, okay, fine, no problem. And I'm like, okay, maybe a month is the maximum allowable time to get feedback. It shouldn't take that long, but I'm like, okay, fine, I'm giving them a month. So on the anniversary of, when I didn't hear back from her, the anniversary of me sending the request, I did a gentle follow-up to see if, where we are with the decision XYZ. So that's February. Oh, still working on it, circle back. Okay. Nothing. March, on the anniversary, sent another follow-up. I'm going to circle back to you. April, nothing. So by then, no, I'm like, so my today would have been 3 full years that I would have been working with the company, right? And I had decided. So when I found out that they did not do raises, I decided that, listen, I am not going to sit here. Because essentially what that means is that every year that you're working for the company, you're progressively worse off just by inflation eating into your purchasing power. And so it's kind of like you either need a raise or you need a promotion, because staying with that company is not beneficial for you. So I had already resolved that 3 years was the maximum I was going to do with this company if nothing changes. So I started to plan out now, like, okay, well, it doesn't seem like these people are going to give me the raise. So I need to move, I need to leave, right? And so I started to look at because, when you're leaving a company, it's like you are deciding to leave, use up all so I had all these sick days, and I had some free days, and then I had vacation days. So there's a lot of time away from work. The problem though is with the paid time off, they have to be approved. The vacation, they have to give you your vacation, but the paid time off, they have to be approved. And so I'm like, okay, I planned my vacation. I took all of the vacation days that I had because of course I knew I was going to leave. And I took all the paid time off that I had, except for the sick days, because I just, there was just no way to use up all of them. And because I wanted to leave on the anniversary of my 3-year anniversary. I didn't want to give them another day. So took I had I think 11 days vacation. I took all of those. I had about 4 free days paid PTO, whatever. I took those 3 days as well, and I managed to take 4 out of the 10 sick days that I had before I leave. Of course, I followed up. So this was my plan, and I'm like, I'm leaving whether I have a job, don't have it doesn't matter. I'm leaving because the people there, most of the people that I work with have been with the company for 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 15 years, and that's the situation. And then there was this weird kind of thing where for people like me who come in after somebody's been there for 10 years, I would come in at the current market rate. And so because remember, if the company is not giving you a raise and you've been here for 10 years, unless you moved into another role, whatever they were paying 10 years ago, that's what you're getting paid now. So it puts us in this weird situation where you may, as an analyst, be getting more than your supervisor, right? And so if I'm going to ask for a raise, the amount that I'm asking for may be as much as what my manager is getting or more. So how are they going to authorize paying you more than what they are getting? So that's the weird dynamic that is created, and it just looking at it now, it shows you the kind of company that you're working for, because a good company would ensure that you don't have persons who are tenured, and by tenured I mean they've been with the company for more than 5 years, who are getting paid less than someone who is just coming in doing the same task. Because what a good company would do is to give those persons who have been there for a while, bump them up to whatever the current market rate is, so that their colleagues are not being paid more than them, when these are the people that you have to train. You're the senior person, in whatever on the team, and so everyone defers to you. Everyone comes to you for advice. If there's a problem, you are the one who are expecting to fix it. You're doing the brunt of the work, because people don't understand, when you're senior, you do more work than the persons who are just coming in. You do, even though you're not a team lead, you're not a supervisor. Being the senior analyst or the senior person on the team, you do the brunt of the work. Because there are just some things that the new people just won't know how to do, and you either have to train them how to do it, and that is still doing the work, right? Or you take most of, so let's say there are 15 items, you will do the bulk of it, because you work faster, because while they would take a longer time to do it, so you end up doing more than the newer persons. And so it's this weird dynamic where even though you're a senior, you are there for 5 years or 7 years. This person who is just coming in and in training that you are training is making significantly more money than you are. So how then you, as a new person coming in now, after 2-3 years asking for a raise, how are you going to get that raise when the people that you are going to ask for a raise are going to look at the other people on the team who have been there longer than you, and you're getting more money than them to begin with because you came in at a higher rate? They're not going to give you. You're just not going to get that raise because like you're already being paid more than everybody else. And that was the unfortunate situation that I found myself in. And so I decided, I'm going to leave. I know, I see these people on TikTok and social media. So I was a recruiter, and the way they're talking about the interview process, and it's all ego. They put you through these mind controlled food. They ask you these stupid ass questions to stroke their ego. And it's like, okay, if you, like, most of the questions that you're asking people in interview don't make any sense, has nothing to do with the job. You have seen my resume. You don't need to ask me to tell me about myself. You don't need to ask me my strengths or my weaknesses, because at the end of the day, there is no reasonable expectation that I'm going to be honest. And so now I have become so disenchanted with the whole work, the whole world of work. It's like, it's a waste of fucking time, because one, it is not fulfilling, and it is not rewarding in terms of monetary reward, because these people are deliberately underpaying us, because at the end of the day, they oversell their investors and shareholders on what the company can take in terms of return on investment. And they're always going to look to cut costs. And when they're looking to cut costs, it always starts with employees. We are always the ones that are under scrutiny, even though they can't do without you to make the profits they're projecting to make. And it's like, at the end of the day, you have these CEOs and executives who, when you look at their expenses, the company expenses that they undertake, it's thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And at the end of the day, they're telling you that they can't give you a raise. Yeah, but you can go spend $40,000 on a trip to DC going to a conference. How does that make sense? It doesn't. And what benefit was that? How did the company benefit from that $40,000 trip? Show us, how did you multiply that $40,000 expense that you, because it's like if you make a product for $10 and you sell it back for $15, you make a $5 profit. So this $40,000 trip, show us from a cost perspective how that benefited the company by way of revenue generation. They can't. So they live these lavish lifestyles, and they have all these perks and stuff that they give themselves. And while you're there working hard and doing the best that you can do and doing the job to the best of your ability, they're telling you that, oh, well, we're in a crunch and times are hard and this, that, and the third, and we can't give you a raise. But your salary is $5 million. Like, make that make sense. So it's like, no, I'm like, I don't even know if I want to work, because it's the same of everything. And then you have these people who are being underpaid too, who are put in positions of leadership. I don't want to say leadership, but they're managers or supervisors or whatever. And it's like, you need to act your goddamn wage. And so they perpetuate this cycle of, treating people unfairly, of exploiting people, of keeping this system of, I don't even know, the word is escaping me, like this evil system that exploits people going, because, well, that's just the way it is, that's just business. No, you're evil. And you're participating in evil. And that's what it is. And now we see this conversation happening that, oh, well, Gen Zs don't want to. It's like, why would they want to work when they go into the workplace and it's not, like, you're doing all this work, but you're not seeing how it is paying off for you because you're still struggling. And the thing that pissed me off was that, like, I'm here struggling to pay my bills and I'm working. Like, how does that make sense? So I'm like, no, I'm not going to be working and struggling. I'm not doing that. So I quit. And I said to my colleagues before I leave, I'm like, the decision was made for me. Because at the end of the day, I have to decide how I want to be treated. And if you're working for an organization that does not value you, you can't make them value you. So the only thing that you can do is to remove yourself from that environment. And unfortunately, I think I don't want to say all, because people kind of get iffy when you use generalities or generalizations. Most and overwhelming majority of businesses are like this. They underpay people. You're not even asking for more. It's one thing if you're asking for more than what the role pays. That's a whole other conversation. You're asking for what is within the realm of what they have budgeted for the role. And it is a problem. They don't want, like, why? If because every role is supposed to have a range, a salary range. $1 to $2. $1 to $2. And if I'm asking for $1.80, why are we having a conversation? It's within what you have budgeted for. And you can't have that range going for 5 years. That doesn't make any sense. Because we have inflation. I can't recall a period of deflation since I've been alive. I can't. So obviously, every year, you must do an evaluation of your pay scales to ensure that you are adjusting them for the current climate. So if after 3 years, I'm looking at the impact of inflation on my salary, and I'm saying, well, I need a raise, and because you would have been recalibrating the pay scale over, you or should have, over those 3 years, right? What I'm asking for is within the realm of where the salary should be. And you did not even give me the courtesy of a response. To this, I have left and I did not get a definitive answer. All I keep getting is circle back. We're going to circle back to you. They never gave me an answer. And I took that as disrespect. And I'm like, my philosophy has always been, you only get to disrespect me once. One time you get to disrespect me, and that's it. And I've always lived by that. And I've always, whatever I say I am going to do, I do. That has always been my thing. And I followed through with what I was going to do. And I feel, I don't know what the future holds for me. And frankly, I don't care. Because we live in a world where people have accepted being exploited. Pull yourself up by the bootstrap. Do this, do that. And it's like, everybody's out here exploiting everybody. We have people hoarding wealth. Working hard does not get you anything except more work. I have been that hard worker. Every job that I had, I was the best at that role. If I do, in terms of where I worked before, and you give okay, call them and ask them how I was the best at that role. I owned it, I mastered it, and I elevated it. But what did I get? Just the regular salary at the end of the day. Working hard does not get you anything. It doesn't. I have worked hard. I did what they told me to do. I was always what you would call an honor student. Always getting I'm the straight A student. Always getting 90%, 95% in the, that sort of thing. All the way from I was small, all the way to college. My GPA was 3.7. 3.7 GPA I had when I graduated. On my degree, I think it has like cum laude or something like that. Right? So I did the thing. I studied, I went to college, I got the degree, and it's a scam. It's a fucking scam. So you did what they told you to do, and it's not working out. It's like, okay, what are we doing? You cannot sell a lie and not follow, because people don't understand. I understand what capitalism is. It is the exploitation of the few for the unjust enrichment of the many. But there has to be an illusion that is maintained to keep the many continuing to be being exploited. You have to, when you see that one of them is seeing the crack in the system, you gotta sell them the illusion. And the way you do that, you give them what you say they would have gotten if they did the things that you told them to do. That is how you keep the illusion alive. So you can say to the other, see, he made it. But they have reached a point now in 2025 where they don't care. They're telling you that you're lazy bums. You're just not working hard enough. They're spitting in our faces. Because we have been so docile and complacent, and so, I don't even know what the word, apathetic to the injustices that they have visited upon us over the years. And I blame our parents, because they put up with that bullshit. And now we, the millennials and the Gen Zs, they're looking at us crazy like, why are you complaining? And it's like, bitch, what you were getting 30 years ago that could afford a house, a car, and a family with 2 kids, we're not getting that. If you adjust what you were getting for inflation to 2025, that's not what we're getting. And that is why we're struggling. So we're working hard, we're doing the thing, we're doing what you told us to do, and there is the benefits, it's not adding up. And we are seeing through that illusion, and because of the arrogance of these people, they're doubling down. And it is for us to take a stand and to say enough is enough. That is why we had the adjuster like Luigi Mangione. And no, everybody was cheering on, because we all could identify with what Luigi did, because all of us are like that. And it is an unfortunate realization that the only thing that these people understand is violence. And I don't mean physical violence, because there are many forms of violence. They're using economic violence against us. They're using psychological violence against us. And we have to respond in kind. You have to speak their language. So if you're at work and the working conditions are bad or the pay is bad, the only thing that you can do, the only tool that you have in your toolkit is to either resign, obviously not one person, but everybody like, okay, we're not coming back. We're not, unless you give us what we want, we're done. And you have to mean that shit. Because if you're bluffing, they're going to call your bluff. Make no mistake, they're going to call your bluff. And I know there is this, everybody can't be an entrepreneur. Because if I start a business, I need people to work for me. So what are you going to do? Look down on the people that are working for you? Everyone who has a business employs people. We all can be entrepreneurs. Someone has to work. I recognize that. And I don't want the stress of running my own business. But I don't want to be working for somebody who is exploiting my labor. And I'm not asking for more than what the role commands. All I'm saying is, if you budget $10 for the role, pay me the fucking $10. Don't pay me $7. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for more than what is required. And they don't want to do that, because there are people who are accepting $5 for a $10 role. And they'll complain under their breath, but they're going to do the job anyway. And so who are you to come now and demand what you're owed? And that is the kind of the dichotomy that exists in the society. You have one set of people who are content to be exploited, and then you have the few like me who are like, wait a minute, what's going on here? I'm supposed to get $10, and you're paying me $7. I need my $3. What are we doing? And then everybody's giving you the side eye to say, okay, do not upset the status quo. And I'm like, well, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to allow anybody to exploit me. Because, it's like, when you come into a realization, it's like a burden. When you realize that you're being exploited, it's like, how do you sit there and allow it to happen? And so I could not. I had to leave. And now, I have a book that I'm working on. It will give me more time. I'm starting this channel, and I hope that, this will be something that I can probably turn into a podcast and just give my views on stuff that are either happening in my life, happening in my environment, happening around the world, and I can hopefully build a community going forward, because I don't know, I can't, it's not that I don't want to work for people, it's just, I've tried and it's just not beneficial for me. Everybody is exploiting you. And then when you're calling them out at it, they're looking at you like you're the bad guy. And then you have these people working there who know you're being exploited, who know they're being exploited, and they're looking at you to say, okay, why are you complaining? And it reminds you of those stories in the days of slavery where you had some slave wanted to escape, and then you have that one who goes snitched and get everybody killed. Because they're just afraid that, well, I don't want to get caught. Okay, well then keep your mouth shut. Let us do our thing. We know what the risks are. We're still living on the plantation today, unfortunately. And it's everybody. It's no longer black versus white. It's literally the haves versus the have-not. This is not even a racist thing, because white people are going through the same thing. It's the haves versus the have-not. And the haves are getting greedy, they're getting bold. We're living in a Hunger Games society, and we're here for their pleasure, their entertainment, and their exploitation. And we have become so far removed from our reality. It's like we have this learned helplessness. And it is, it is, I don't even know what the word is. It is so, it is a weight on someone like me who I just have that fighting spirit. Once I become aware of what is that, I can't sit silently and allow it. I can't do it. It's like a sneeze. I have to act, I have to do something. And I'm like, listen, I'm not going to stay at this company for one more day. You either pay me or I'm out of this bitch. And they did not respond to me, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'm gone. And I leave people there who've been there for 10, 15 years, and they're like, well, I wish I was like you. And I'm like, okay. Make a plan to exit and commit to it. That's what I did. And I have absolutely no regrets, because I have paid my dues to the system. I've paid my dues to the system. But the system does not reward you. And what I find too, as I wrap this video up, is that if you are not willing to play the game, sell your soul. And I know people use that phrase, and some of us might think that it's literal, but it is not. You sell your soul to the system by doing the very evils that the haves have done to reach where they are. And I am not willing to do that. I don't want to be successful, because I see what success looks like in this system. It means I have to come on here and I have to exploit you. I have to lie to you. I have to manipulate you to get what I want. And I'm not going to do that. I am not going to do that. And in the workplace, it's the same thing. You're going to stab people in the back to climb the ladder. You have to engage in the same exploitative behaviors, Machiavellian behaviors, as those persons in leadership to move up. And I am not doing that. And that is why, what I mean by selling your soul to the system, you have to compromise yourself. You have to compromise your integrity. You have to sell out your morals and your values to the system in order for the system to reward you. I do not want to be rewarded by an evil system. I am going to forge my own path, do things my way, and I'm going to be okay. And that is how I look at it. And if you're still here, thank you for listening to me rant for however how long this video is. And I'll be making more videos, so if you feel like you enjoyed my discourse, then feel free to subscribe to the channel, share it with someone, and you can share your views and your experiences in the comment section below. And I'll see you in the next video. Alright?